Actually, it is very simple to not have any mold in your enclosure. So, but for that, we have to understand how it works. I'll try to make some illustrations here so you can, easily see what I'm talking about. So, there are two main reasons to get mold in your enclosure or in your tank. First reason is not sufficient ventilation. I know everyone has heard it, everyone is talking about, but ventilation is essential to not get any mold in your enclosure. Think about your enclosures you have. Think about the ones you use. Not only the glass tanks, but also the plastic ones you use. I use them also for smaller ones or bigger ones. It depends on the species and the project I have. But think about it and check in your enclosure how your ventilation system works. A lot of people out there are working with fauna boxes, and that's not an issue. They're nice to have. They're nicely colored. They have a nicely colored top lid, but they miss on ventilation on the bottom part of the enclosure. So all you have is this enclosure with top ventilation, but there is no ventilation on the bottom part of the enclosure itself. So what does that mean? It is not possible for the air to flow through, to circulate within your enclosure container. Doesn't matter if it is out of glass or out of plastic or something you have made yourself. In the end, it is all about cross ventilation. What that means is, you need to have a ventilation on the bottom part, right above the substrate layer, and then the next ventilation holes or area should be on the very top of the enclosure. So that way the air can circulate, because heated air, or air which is full of moisture and warm energy, I call it, it goes up. And the air which is colder, fresh air as you want to say, is coming from the bottom part into the enclosure. It gets heated up, it travels to the top part, and then it evacuates through the top lid. So this is really the thing. You can have huge enclosures, but if you only have a top ventilation, most of the time, if you have some rocks and stones and other material in your glass tank or plastic tank, it does not, it is not suitable enough if you don't have any cross ventilation. So all the time, make sure you do have a cross ventilation system. You of course have to differentiate between species. Some species like it more moist, but don't make the mistake or error to, let's say, high humidity is only possible with not that much of ventilation. That is not true, because the fact that if you have a high humidity, let's say 80-90% in your tank, and it is not a circulated high humidity, that means the air is just of very bad quality. But you could have the same, like you can have a very good cross ventilation system but still get this high humidity. You just need to moisturize your enclosure more, or you use live plants. That's what I do. You can see in the background it shimmers sort of green. That's the secret tip, if you want to call it that way, to use live plants. I see a ton of enclosures in the internet, worldwide, all over YouTube, all over the internet, where there is only cocoa fiber used with plastic plants and some sort of hide for the tarantula. It is not bad, but it is not the ideal setting. So you can certainly keep your tarantula that way, but if you don't want to get any mold, you should really change your substrate. And that's the second part, the second tip. So the first one was ventilation, second one is the right substrate. So of course this differs for every species you keep. You cannot use the very same substrate on every single species out there available, because yeah, there are species who live in tropical high humidity jungles and other ones living in almost dry desert-like areas. So in the end you need to have separate substrates or separate moistures of the substrate provided. But the quality of the substrate really is essential, because you need to mimic a microclimate. And what that means is, so the actual substrate you use needs to live. That sounds not something you want to have when you don't want to have mold, right? But that's not true, because it's all about balance. It's about balance in life. Everything has to be in balance. If there is no balance anymore, even the good or the bad thing will overcome. So we always have to have balance everywhere in life. So that's also the case with your enclosure. Make sure you get the right amount of little help workers into your enclosure. You can use springtails, which I'm going to show you here. And there is also another creature which I just don't remember the name right now, but I'll leave it into the description here and in the bottom part. I just can't remember the name. These two guys, or these two group, are the ones you need in your enclosure. And you can also do a very dry enclosure, but the minimum part will be a quarter of the tank should have these little helpers. Because think about, there is parts of crickets or cockroaches your tarantula does not eat, and you don't find it in the terrarium or enclosure, and you can't put it out. Therefore these little helpers will work and help you to not get any mold on these parts you might miss to clean out of your terrarium or enclosure. But generally they will also eat on fungi and mold in general. Generally in general. So these are the two tips. I will get some pictures and of course video to explain the whole thing again. There are so many videos out there. I just felt I would like to share my opinion on this topic. There are also quite famous YouTubers out there who use different substrates, different mixtures of substrates. So you can also go and check out the Dark Den channel. Petco has actually quite a nice substrate mix. He's using charcoal as well to prevent any mold. Go with that one. Don't go with any cocoa fiber, pure cocoa fiber without anything. That's basically the baddest thing you can do. In the end, these are wild creatures. Tarantulas live out in the woods, so you don't need any sterile enclosure, because in the end, I said it, it's about balance. So when you have a sterile enclosure, for example, you put your soil into the oven to like kill all the bacteria, you don't have a complete sterile soil. You just most likely have killed almost everything in this soil. But if you like add different things, for example crickets for your tarantula to eat, they will bring back some bacteria, and in that way they could bring back the mold and other fungi stuff you are then having in your tank, because there are no bacteria from the soil who could eat on the mold. It's in the end about balance and imbalance. So make sure you get that right and hopefully be mold free in your collection, complete collection. So I'll give some more examples here. For example, this one right here, one of the Harpactira pulchripes I got at the show. They're in a quite small container, but as you can see, there is cross ventilation. So let's say we have ventilation hole on the very top, very bottom just above the soil. And on the reverse part, we actually do have the ventilation hole a bit higher, so that in the end the air can circulate around even very small containers, and therefore there will be no mold at all. I also put some of the little workers in there to prevent any mold from happening. That's all the magic, guys. I could certainly do another more in-depth video about this topic, but hopefully we have managed to get quite a few questions answered in this live chat with this new feature on YouTube called Premiere. I would like to use it more and more because in the end it's all about building up a community. It would be great to participate more together, to work on topics more. And yeah, if you have liked the video, or if you do like the video and the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You have left several comments hopefully already in this live super chat, which yeah, I'm also in right now. It's a little bit weird when I recorded a video and air it right now so I can watch it with you guys. Yeah. Anyway, that was it from today, Tuesday. Let's see each other on this Friday with a new episode about tarantulas in the wild, how we find them, film them, and release them. So that's all, and yeah, have a nice week.